Savage said that he was forced to do the document. This is when he decided to get back with Bambaataa. He has been begging to be back with Bambaataa for at least 2 years that I'm aware of. I had stopped doing this like everybody else. And then like 2 years ago, I became aware of what he was out here saying. And so he's been begging to get back with Bambaataa for like 2 years, begging for a meeting with him, wanting to do a record with him. And I had to take down several of my live streams for now because I am suing Ronald Savage for taking our organization's name, him and Mickey Benson. He used Mickey Benson's address to commit trademark fraud. And there is a federal lawsuit right now, which is why he's hiding at that dope fiend's house and for the last 3 months. And so he's been up there hiding at her house, and I'm afraid to go to his apartment because he's hiding from the process server. But I have time, so you can stay there. I don't care how long you stay there, anyway, it will be waiting for you. So on the screen, so he's saying that he was forced to do the documentary, and there's 2 reasons I'm showing you these messages. The first reason is to show that I'm asking him for a release form, for him to sign the release form. So if I interview you, which I interview him 3 times, and he asked for the 3rd interview, okay? So I interview him 3 different times in New York all the time. And it was just me and him. So if I forced him to do the documentary, I would like to know how that was possible. That I forced him. It was just me and him at each of those interviews, yet he was forced to do the documentary. Now, if I I interview you and ask you for the release form, if you don't sign that release form, I could still potentially issue the footage, release the footage, but you could challenge me legally, okay? But when I have the release form, then you can't challenge me at all. So he's not challenging me legally. He's just out here flapping his lips, his gums, saying that he was forced to do the documentary. Now, if I force you to do the documentary, all you have to do is not sign the release form. But what does he do? He signs the release form, and therefore I release the footage under Trapped in a Culture, which that's not the documentary. That's just raw interview footage. But, that's tomato. The other reason I have those text messages on the screen is because who records their friends? Do you see him asking me if I'm using those audios of Mickey Benson, who said that somebody would get stomped out if they go against the Zulu Nation? I mean, these guys are just off the hook, a meat rat. And the other audio is Mr. Biggs from Soul Sonic Force and Smitty from the Zulu Nation, where they are negotiating this money, which was later categorized as to be a shakedown by Bambaataa and by Cassius D, that they were trying to extort Bambaataa out of money to silence for Ronald Savage to stop talking about this. Who records their friends? To this day, I do not have one recording of any of my friends' phone conversations, not one. Now, I did have to record, let's say Cuban Crisis comes to mind. So there was a time we filmed his interview like on video, but I forgot something, and I was like, oh man, remember when you said this? We didn't cover that. And he'll say, oh yeah, I can do it. So, okay, well, when we hang up right now, I'm going to call you back on a recorded line. So I call him back on the recorded line, and I still have to say to him, is it okay? Do I have your permission to record this phone call? And he says yes. And then we record the issue. We're done. We hang up, and then I'll call him back on not a recorded line. But who has recorded phone calls of their friends? Now, when Ronald Savage was recording his friends, remember, he knows he's recording them, so he's acting also. So this wasn't about money, and you guys are covering it up, and blah blah blah. So he's acting and setting up his friends at the same time. To this day, we don't have the real Ronald Savage on a phone call. All the recordings that we have are of him recording the call. So he's acting also. Don't forget that. He is a manipulator. All of you trying to say that he's slow and all of that, he's an actor. He's setting his own friends up, and he even calls Mickey Benson his cousin. And they're using Ronald Savage right now. Wait until all this dies down and watch what happens to Ronald Savage by these same Zulu people. And lastly, I want you to notice how he's asking me if I'm using those phone calls in the documentary. And please notice that he says he has copyrighted those calls, and he's, quote, "I'm not giving free rights for those in the documentary." Free. Meaning if I'm going to pay, maybe I could use them in the documentary. I tell him those are that he violated wiretapping laws. This guy, I had to take down several live streams because he's out here striking people's channels, and he did strike one of my videos also, which is why I'm suing him. He's using our own organization's name against my own videos. Hip Hop Stands with Survivors. Him and Mickey Benson have tried to steal our organization's name to recategorize the organization under something for all survivors like alcoholism, drug abuse, blah, 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 when that's not what our organization is about. And they have staged his recanting on allhiphop.com. He's recanted for the last 2 years, okay? But it just hit allhiphop.com simultaneously with Bambaata's comeback to Crotona Park and Funk Flex on on Hot 97. So if you guys don't see the play at hand here, I'm not going to say if you don't, because you all do see this, which is why you're doing all of your videos. And I am really thankful that you all are talking about this. And thank you to Cuban Link, because when he did his video, everything got turned up several notches, because what they were trying to do was isolate me as a interloper, troublemaker, and all this, and opportunist, and all the rest of that stuff. Anyone who's taken this subject on has done nothing but lose. Nothing but lose. You can count the losses. It's been nothing but one L after another. There was no opportunity here for any kind of come up. He thinks the godfather of hip hop and all that only means something to him. He said tonight that him and Bambaata are Batman and Robin. And I'm going to leave you with that. Okay, so thank you guys for discussing.